SpaceX has been back at it again this week at Starbase, Texas, with a hive of activity as they push towards Flight 9. With Booster 14 successfully performing its 33-inch static file last week, its testing campaign was complete, so it was time to move back to the production site. Construction at Pad B is entering its most critical phase with major progress on the flame trench. Meanwhile, Pad A may be seeing some unexpected changes on the horizon. SpaceX continues to demonstrate its dominance by setting a new reuse record with the Falcon 9. Next to this achievement, SpaceX has been selected to launch the next lunar lander mission, further cementing its leadership and vital role in the space industry. We've reached April of 2025, and SpaceX has already achieved an impressive milestone, with 8 Starship flights under its belt. The era of regular, high-frequency Starship launches is fast approaching, bringing us ever closer to some of the company's most ambitious objectives, including catching both stages mid-air. That's why the full activation of Launchpad B is generating so much anticipation. With the launch tower, chopsticks, and the booster quick disconnect gantry system already constructed and installed, the spotlight now shifts to 2 final but critical components, the orbital launch mount and the flame trench system. And now, exciting progress is underway on the flame trench. Between the evening of April 11th and early, on the 12th, the 2 massive flame bucket sections officially departed the Sanchez site and were transported to the launch site. This move offered our first full view of their structure, each bucket formed by interlocking L-shaped tubes and manifolds that had been assembled at Sanchez. Shortly after their arrival, installation began without delay. The first and second sections were successfully lifted into place inside the trench. These 2 assemblies will be installed at either end of the trench and combined into a dual flame trench configuration, offering up to twice the performance compared to traditional single-sided systems. The rapid progress suggests that earlier foundational works such as placing rebar and pouring concrete for the trench base has been completed. Before the flame buckets arrived, additional wall sections for the trench were also installed. Now with the buckets in place, final layers of concrete are likely being poured to permanently anchor the system. Next up, this dual flame trench will be connected to the water deluge system, featuring multiple horizontal water tanks housed at the adjacent tank farm. These tanks, both large and small, will serve different sections of the trench. The larger tanks will be linked to the flame buckets via manifolds, which in turn connect to a network of deluge pipes running through long pre-dug trenches. These pipes will deliver a torrent of water to suppress heat and sound energy during launch. Special thanks to Chrome Kiwi for their detailed visual renderings that help illustrate how the entire deluge system will function. With deluge pipes already arriving on site and set for imminent installation, it's looking increasingly likely that the flame trench system and therefore the core infrastructure of Pad B will be fully completed by the end of April. Once that happens, only the final integration with the OLM remains. Pad B is still slated to perform the first ever ship catch attempt. If Flight 9 is successful, Flight 10, possibly launching as early as May, could mark that historic milestone. Are you ready to witness Pad B in action? It's well known that Pad B is being developed to support Starship operations in the near future. But what's even more noteworthy is that Pad B may play a far more pivotal role than originally anticipated, potentially becoming the primary site for all major Starship operations. This shift is largely driven by the realization that many of the legacy systems at Pad A are becoming outdated in the context of Starship's long-term evolution. Elements such as the current launch tower, the original chopsticks, the 6-legged orbital launch mount, and the water-cooled steel plate are no longer ideal for accommodating the latest Starship designs. Interestingly, this time they rotated all 4 grid fins simultaneously. Remember, the grid fins can't be folded down on Super Heavy like they can for Falcon 9. You might think that this would cause an issue on ascent with the drag, but as long as they are parallel to the direction of movement, the drag is extremely small. That is because the individual metal strips that make it up are super thin. To start with, the existing launch tower at Pad A may soon require an upgrade, specifically in height, to line with the updated Starship version 2. Looking further ahead, there are even predictions that Starship version 3 could debut within this year, which would almost certainly require a significantly taller tower structure. Elon Musk has also commented on the chopsticks design at Pad A, noting that it feels overly long and cumbersome. Future iterations of the system, like those being implemented at Pad B, are expected to be shorter, sleeker, and more efficient. However, some elements at Pad A may require more than just upgrades. They might need to be entirely replaced. The original six-legged O11, for instance, could be dismantled to make way for a more streamlined modern mount similar to the one being installed at Pad B. Additionally, the inverted shower-style deluge system may be replaced by a high-efficiency flame trench, a design that is already being embraced at SpaceX's Florida facilities. Based on these trends, a significant overhaul of Pad A could be on the horizon. My prediction is that SpaceX may keep the current setup operational through the third quarter of this year to allow Pad B to reach full readiness. Once Pad A is operational, Pad A could undergo several months of demolition, site preparation, and construction, temporarily halting all launch and testing activities at that site. Naturally, any transition of this scale would need to be timed carefully to avoid disrupting Starship's overall launch cadence. But if all goes to plan, Pad B will be ready to shoulder the full workload during Pad A's downtime. Ultimately, this evolution presents a critical opportunity for Pad B to prove its design and operational capabilities. If SpaceX achieves success with its upcoming missions from Pad A, the transition to Pad B may be smoother and more efficient than expected. So stay tuned, the coming months will be key for both launch systems. Now, looking booster aft section was moved out of the Star Factory. That is intriguing, and it is definitely not hardware we've seen outside at Starbase before. It has a redesigned landing tank compared to what we've seen on previous boosters and an interesting array of pipes at the top. Also intriguing, there are some dotted parts around the base here, as well as two pipes sticking out in these locations. If we go back to SpaceX's Block 2 render from last April, we can sort of see these same things. Here, the black parts were long speculated to be quick disconnect ports, which would seem to line up with the pipe attachments on the actual hardware. Of course, these are probably not the full quick disconnect, but more just essentials for the tank to be connected to the tank farm. If we look quickly here at the MAS's test site, it looks like SpaceX has started work modifying the booster cryogenic testing station and are outfitting it with this new structure. That seems to indicate that the Block 2 booster might feature two separated quick disconnects. On the other side of the currently in use booster quick disconnect, SpaceX has been at work constructing a new rig. We suspect that this might be the next booster thrust simulator rig. It seems similar to the one that they already used to verify the current Block 1 boosters. It also has the telltale for extensions just like the current rig. Based on what we're seeing here, it looks like this new rig is going to be used to structurally verify the integrity of the future Block 2 boosters. Not for this upcoming test tank, however. For that, they will be most likely using this other testing structure close by. That too has been set up with all 33 thrust rams to test out the pressures against the mount points for the engines. It is also set up with actuators in one of the upper levels, so if needed, it can deliver sideways forces that the vehicle could experience during flight. Now keep in mind that this section certainly seems to be part of a test tank and not a final vehicle, so we can't really take any design element here as confirmed for the first Block 2 boosters. I will say the structure on top especially looks to be related to some kind of testing. We imagine these 5 pipes there could be 4 actuators that will apply forces onto the landing tank. Think of that pitch over after stage separation as one example and during the coast before the landing burn itself. Given that we are yet to see progress with Booster 18, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the final section for the B-18.1 test tank that we've been watching recently. It's going to be great to see how this develops and what SpaceX does with it. It was of course moved into Mega Bay 1 to be stacked along with the domed section and the plain barrel section we spotted last week. Zooming into the label we can see that this is for Ship 39. This is important because it's been quite a long time since we've seen a header tank at the staff factory. This led to some theories about Ship 39 potentially being an upgraded version. In fact, if we flip Jack's image around, there is quite clearly a marking here that says V3 liquid oxygen. Now the term V3 has been thrown around a lot lately, and although this was shown a long time back, it really doesn't feel like these mentions of V3 refer anymore to this stretch design. The next generation of the ship and SpaceX's naming scheme has become somewhat confusing lately. This is speculative due to the lack of information around it, but we suspect that all of the ship liquid oxygen header tanks starting with a Block 2 for Ship 33 have all been this V3 variant. To make things even more confusing, there have been multiple mentions of the V3 Starship design coming soon. Yeah, we've barely even hit the Block 2 booster and there's already talk about Block 3 or V3. We do tend to see this happen with SpaceX because of the rapid pace of design alterations. After all, they've already made so many changes since the initial V2 design that they're probably just lining up the newer ship and the booster version numbers together. That would make sense because you expect Block 2 ships would launch on Block 2 super heavy boosters. Likewise, the Block 3 ship and booster would be paired up as well, so yeah, let me know what you think. While on the topic of Block 2 production, the second barrel belonging to Ship 37's liquid oxygen tank was moved out of the staff factory and sent right into Mega Bay 2 for stacking with the rest of the vehicle. Once that has been completed, it will make the Ship 37 stack 17 rings tall out of the final 21. The center transfer tube was lifted into position in the bay not long after, so that continues unsteadily as well. All that remains is for that install to be completed, and then the final aft section at the base of the vehicle. We have booster action 2. This thrust simulator stand was moved into the ring yard and then later moved into Mega Bay 1, all to prepare for Booster 17. Yes, it needed to leave the site on that stand and it was moved off to masses during the night. The previous Booster 16 had already performed 2 cryogenic proofing tests about a month ago, and it was now time for 17 to do the same. In fact, this is a record between fully stacking a booster and it heading off to masses for its cryogenic testing campaign. 16 was previously the quickest at almost 2 months, and Booster 17 has done the same in just over a month, almost half the time. Once there, it took less than 24 hours for it to be parked, hooked up to the tank farm, and for testing to begin. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.